And in the next 3 minutes, I'm going to reveal to you a weird but simple low-risk cryptocurrency investment loophole that has allowed students of ours to turn $20 into over $100,000 in just 3 months. Yes, just moments after watching this presentation, you'll know the one simple crypto loophole that the top 1% of the hidden elite class of investors exploit to get returns of 150%, 500%, and even 10,000%, sometimes within a few months or even weeks. Here's just a short breakdown of the returns they were able to achieve. 752% gain in 9 days, 503% gain in 3 weeks, 2,400% gain in 50 days, 1,992% gain in 4 weeks. Now, if you thought that was a fluke, let me tell you, these results are nothing compared to the explosive profits that some of the best performers achieved in this market. Here's a screenshot of them. If you bought NXT when it was launched, your investment would have increased by 518,832%. If you bought IOTA when it was launched, your investment would have increased by 145,980%. If you bought Ethereum when it was launched, your investment would have increased by 96,560%. And the list goes on and on. So as you can see, what I'm about to show you isn't a best-case hypothetical situation that never happens in real life. All the stats I mentioned to you are 100% obtainable, achievable, and completely real. But there is one catch. You have to move fast. The window of opportunity to profit from this is rapidly closing. I'll explain why in a moment, but all you need to know is this. It doesn't matter how old you are and never invested before. It doesn't matter if you have no investing or trading experience at all. It doesn't even matter if you don't have a lot of money. In fact, you can start today for as little as $10. If you start today, you too can start profiting moments after watching this presentation and making money from using this amazing little loophole. Imagine the tech boom in the 90s all over again, except this time it's 100,000 times bigger, more reliable, and it won't be isolated to only American companies. In fact, Forbes recently had a front page cover titled Bitcoin, Cryptocurrency, the Future. Did you know cryptocurrency is already gaining worldwide acceptance, with governments in Russia, Japan, China, and the United States starting to accept these investments? And as of right now, it just also happens to be the world's fastest method of creating millionaires, currently producing worldwide 100 millionaires a day. All the smart money have already made their move and transferred large portions of their holdings into this new up-and-coming opportunity. I'm talking about moguls like Richard Branson, founder of Virgin, Bill Gates from Microsoft, Mark Andreessen, founder of Netscape, PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel, billionaire philanthropist Mark Cuban, and many more. So this means if you don't have your money invested here, it'll be like having your money in old school typewriters when desktop computers took over the world. And no, I'm not talking about investing in the popular cryptocurrency coins such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Dash, or Monaco. What I'm going to reveal to you is something that is even more profitable than all these currencies combined. Yes, what I'm about to reveal to you is that powerful. So how do I know this works? Well, after showing more than 19,382 students in USA, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand, our team of international analysts and researchers are proud to report a 96% success rate, with the average return across the board being over 759%. The best thing is, the method I'm about to show you works at such low risk that it might as well be risk-free. So if you're looking to jump on board an entirely new class of investments and also exploit this loophole that will explode your portfolio within a few short weeks and sometimes in just days, then let me pass you to my friend Pat Kendrick. He's a retired economist and longtime investor in this currency platform. He also happens to be the head of the crypto mining and trading division at the Cryptocurrency Institute. In fact, he was one of the first to start mining Bitcoin and Ethereum in North America before most people even knew what it was. Since then, he has amassed an impressive portfolio and his track record is nothing short of amazing. That is why we believe there is no one more qualified on this topic. So without further ado, here's Pat.
My name is Patrick Kendrick, and I'm a retired economist, lead researcher, and head of the crypto mining and trading division here at Cryptocurrency Institute. If you're sick of getting standard market returns of 10% or less a year, then you need to listen very carefully to what I'm about to reveal to you next. I've spent years working in this industry from both the academic side, such as theoretical research and analysis, to personally supervising cryptocurrency day trades in the real world, flipping ICOs, arbitrage, and cryptocurrency mining. So trust me when I tell you this. I understand more than almost anyone in the country how the super rich, the top 1% of the elite, exploit loopholes in the marketplace in securities in order to obtain ungodly amounts of market returns of up to 10,000% ROI with almost no risk at all. Let me reveal to you a one-of-a-kind cryptocurrency profit loophole that's going to completely transform your net worth, your income statement, and your financial position practically overnight. The best thing is, we have modified this loophole so it works for everyday folks without a lot of money to risk and with zero experience. In fact, here are the life-changing results of our students who are first-time investors. People like 66-year-old Joe D., a retired salesperson from Richmond, Virginia. Joe initially invested $7,000 using this method. I am now close to $250,000. David Smithson, a 61-year-old business owner from Austin, Texas. He says his portfolio has increased $500,000 in less than 3 months. I feel like I now have the chance to recover the lost profits I missed out in the 90s tech boom, he said. Matthew G. had never invested before until 12 weeks ago. I took my money out of the stock market because it wasn't doing that well, he said. My $35,000 has grown to $600,000 in that very short time. Samantha H. was a single mom and newbie and never invested before when she signed up. My savings of $7,000 has went up to almost $90,000 in just 4 months, she said. Now, these results may sound too good to be true, but this is the reality of the situation right now. Take a look at this chart. It appeared in Fortune magazine just a few weeks ago. As you can see, this new asset class grew from less than $10 billion to $150 billion the past 12 months. And it's only going to get bigger and bigger. Now, I must warn you to watch this video right now till the very end, because if you do not and come back tomorrow, I cannot guarantee that it will be available for you for free then. Did you know if you bought $1,000 of Google in 2004 at its initial public offering, then it would be worth $1,575,000 today? Or if you had invested $1,000 worth of shares in Microsoft in 1985, it would be worth $7,974,720 by now. Now, I could go on and on forever, but you get my point. It's important to know what to put your money in and at what time, because had you put in $1 in the right place just a few years ago, you might be a multimillionaire by now. But hindsight is always 20/20, and the tech boom of the 90s is now well and truly over. The good news is that this opportunity is here once again, and it's currently something that's still in its infancy, and it's 100,000 times bigger than the tech boom of the 90s. Much, much bigger. I am not exaggerating. In fact, cryptocurrency represents the single biggest investment opportunity since the beginning of human civilization. The reason why it's 100,000 times bigger than the tech boom is because it's not just limited to American tech companies. This time, the boom is completely global, and governments worldwide have officially begun recognizing and adapting to them too. Everything that made the tech boom so exciting for investors in the 90s, where old technologies were being replaced with the new, when entire markets and sectors were completely being revamped from the bottom up, well, it's happening once again. In fact, when this happens, this phenomenon is known in the academic field as an economic disruption. This is when one product makes an older one obsolete. It sends a shockwave through the market. And when entire industries are being disrupted all at once, it's an earthquake that leaves nothing the way it was. Think about Amazon. They started out in one small niche, selling books. And once they made bookstores obsolete, they branched out, taking over online delivery, every product under the sun, even groceries. That's what cryptocurrency represents, but much, much bigger. Right now, you probably don't know what I am talking about, and it might be hard to believe. I mean, after all, with people experiencing these kind of crazy numbers, wouldn't everyone be talking about it? And when I mean crazy numbers, I mean 585% profit in 31 days, 156% profit in 8 days, 1,245% profit in 6 weeks, 3,477% profit in just over 3 weeks, 4,734% profit in 4 months. In my 25 plus years of experience as an economics and finance professor, I can tell you this. With any big new trend, It all comes down to one thing: timing. Now I want you to look at this chart. This is a chart that maps the predictable pattern of consumer mass adoption of new technology and was first observed by American theorist Everett Rogers in 1962. First, only the innovators adopt a trend. Then, the early adopters jump on board, the folks who are quick enough to buy in at the earliest possible time. It's often the early adopters who get rich from a new trend. Just think about Google, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and other dominant internet companies today. The folks who made fortunes off these companies weren't smarter than everyone else. They didn't invent anything that was different. They simply got on the trend before everyone else, when these companies were selling for just a few dollars a share. And that's exactly what's happening with cryptocurrencies today. But there is some bad news. This won't last forever. The window will shut by June 30. In fact, according to one of the world's leading consulting firms, Accenture, this year marks the year the cryptocurrencies moved into the early adopter phase. That's why most people, the vast majority of the public, to them, this new cryptocurrency is still a mystery. And there lies the opportunity. Starting next year, Accenture says this market will hit its maximum growth phase. When that happens, and it gains even more acceptance, economists expect 24 million more Americans may get involved, sending prices soaring at least 5,000% or more. Economists also agree that cryptocurrencies will hit mass adoption in fewer than 5 years. This is further confirmed by the World Economic Forum. According to their recent study, the tipping point for cryptocurrencies will hit sometime within the next 5 years. So what does this mean for you? Time is ticking, and anyone who gets in now will make an absolute killing. In a few moments, I'll walk you through the steps for signing up. You'll be able to place your first trade in a matter of minutes, and you'll be shocked to see how easy it is. The best thing is that it's completely free to set up a new account. There's no equipment necessary. All you need is a computer or cell phone and an email, and it takes as little as $10 to get started. Now let's put that in perspective, considering the stock market today requires you to have at least $500 just to get started. When you invest in cryptocurrencies, there are zero startup fees. So this means you can begin immediately investing in the world's next Facebook, Google, Apple, and more. Remember, these companies are only a few years old, and since the advent of the internet, they have changed the world. One of the reasons why the internet was so popular was because it democratized information. Instead of just having a handful of media outlets in control of news and information, anyone could share their knowledge, their advice, their ideas, art, and opinions. Cryptocurrency, despite its weird name, offers the same to the world of finance. If you have a digital wallet, you can instantly buy or sell anything without permission from Visa, MasterCard, any banking institution, and without government taxes, intervention, or regulation. Transfers from your digital wallet occur almost instantly, unlike bank wires that could take days, especially for international transactions. Also, there are minimal fees and almost no restrictions. In fact, it's been said that cryptocurrencies will do to the modern banking and financial sector what online news did to newspapers. Yes, I'm talking about a complete and utter overhaul to literally underlying foundation, the economic institutions and the medium of exchange on which the entire world's economy is built upon. It would not be surprising if in a few years that the US dollar will be no longer the world currency pegged to crude oil, but instead in its place, a cryptocurrency. There are trillions of dollars to be made, and unlike the tech boom of the 90s, now this time, you can take part in this too. If you are under the impression that cryptocurrency isn't safe because it's not backed up by an underlying physical commodity, then let me tell you something. Did you know that only 4% of the world's wealth is physical, tied up in hard assets like cash, gold, land, and products? 96% of it's digital: stocks, credit, numbers in a bank account, and other things that exist on a balance sheet. Traditional currency is centralized, under the control of bankers and politicians who manipulate that value to meet their immediate selfish needs. And the global financial crisis of 2008 caused by these centralized institutions have proven to you their system of control and regulation is totally corrupt and not to be trusted. On the other hand, cryptocurrency is a digital currency and completely decentralized. The infrastructure on which cryptocurrency is built upon is maintained through a complex network of interlinking computers that constantly check and monitor each other based on mutually agreed pre-existing sophisticated mathematical algorithms. Each calculation and transaction is publicly recorded on the blockchain on the internet and is completely transparent. There is no central governing authority over cryptocurrency, and therein lies its power. No institution, corporation, or government can game or rig the system. Now, you can understand why cryptocurrency is one of the safest investment classes in the world, because it is completely immune to inflation, manipulation, dilution, and most importantly, corruption. And that's why people are flocking to it. In order for you to understand the importance of what I'm sharing with you today, you've got to know my personal story. It's not always a pretty one, but that's how the truth is sometimes. Nothing hurts like being told you aren't needed anymore, especially when you're living halfway across the world. In 2014, when Putin invaded Crimea, the Obama administration responded by putting sanctions on Russia, and overnight this collapsed the Russian economy. The only reason why I knew this was because, at the time, I was a professor of finance and economics at a Russian university, and ironically, I was the first one in the school that was fired. That night, I had to explain to my wife why a person who professionally predicted financial and economic trends was unable to see what was coming down the pipe in his own life. I couldn't even afford the money that I would need to lick my wounds and move on with my life back in the United States. I had to scramble and do odd jobs in Russia, mostly piddling stuff like bookkeeping and accounting for whoever was willing to hire me. Being an accountant was a massive downgrade to my previous position as a head lecturer and department head, but it was the only job that I could get and was enough for me to eat and pay rent. That was until the day my wife called me from the USA in tears. She was heartbroken to tell me that our daughter had gotten into a car accident just a few hours earlier. It was going to cost us about $800 to repair it. Otherwise, the car would not be roadworthy and she couldn't get to work. Thank goodness my teenage daughter wasn't seriously hurt, but the medical bills also added up to close to $1,000. It doesn't seem like a lot of money to me now, but if you're watching this, you can probably imagine the huge impact that kind of money has on your life. It means you miss bills, you miss payments, you can't have things you're saving up for. For us, it meant we lost our house and the lifelong legacy that my wife's father left behind. Because of my daughter's car accident and my inability to provide for my family, it meant that our home was foreclosed on. And while a few people in the family were sympathetic, most of them were unsupportive and resentful. I started to blame my wife for losing the house, and she blamed me for not making enough money. Nobody said it to my face, but more than one person told my wife that she should get divorced and take my children away to find someone who was able to support her lifestyle. At this point, it was perfectly clear to me that nothing else would actually work to get me where I wanted to go, not financially. The only reason I'm able to be here telling you a story about my success, glory, and freedom is because I was able to not only get out of the cycle of financial misery, but come back out wealthier than I have ever been. It was 5 a.m. in the morning when I got a text message from a colleague, about noon in Moscow. He sent me a very short and to-the-point message. The Kremlin's steaming, so make sure you turn on the TV. A bill passed the U.S. Congress putting in place stiff sanctions on Russia. What did this mean? Basically, American banks, institutions, and corporations were forbidden to conduct any sort of trade or transaction with any Russian-owned company or entity. And since USA was one of Russia's biggest trading partners, nearly overnight, the domestic economy collapsed along with the value of the Russian ruble. So what did the Russians do in response to this American bill? A bill to legalize cryptocurrency was sailing through Parliament, and the Putin government was considering investing massive amounts into this new market. For years, in Russia, cryptocurrency was outlawed and it was literally banned there. This was because the Russian government understood the power of this new currency. It was completely anonymous, digital, and decentralized. So this meant that it couldn't be traced, nor could it be stopped either. Not by any bank, government, or central authority. After years of beating their head against the wall, they realized that it was impossible to fight against this rising tide. So the Russians countered the American economic sanctions by reversing their previous policy against the acceptance of cryptocurrency and embraced it with open arms. They knew that if they could be ahead of the bell curve and beat the international banks led by the Americans, then they could exploit this to their advantage. Why do I know this? Because a government-owned Russian bank hired me to oversee their brand new department that was dedicated to trading, mining, and analyzing both existing and upcoming cryptocurrencies. I was the perfect candidate for the job because of my background. I understood the intricate fundamentals behind this new emerging digital blockchain currency. Since I was dead broke at the time, I eagerly accepted the position. Over the course of the next several weeks, I started working with Russian currency traders, miners, and market makers. For 12 hours each day, they'd engage in mining, analyzing, and trading cryptocurrencies in both the Russian market and other decentralized crypto exchanges worldwide. And it was during this experience that I came to the realization of something that was staring at me in the face my entire life, and I didn't even realize it. The smart money, the 1% of the super elite, I'm talking about the minority that holds the world's wealth. They don't play by the same rules we do. You see, as a finance and economics professor, although I did understand most of the economic theory regarding the fundamentals of wealth and market behavior, it wasn't until I started working with the most high-level Russian traders and market makers, then I saw it in action myself. Did I learn how the smart money, the elite 1%, would exploit opportunities in the market and make staggering, unbelievable returns. Basically, these guys would essentially engage in risk-free trades and experience no loss in their portfolio, whilst ensuring other people ended up making them guaranteed risk-free money. During the few weeks there, I was especially close to a Russian trader and market maker by the name of Vlad. The more I learned from the Russian crypto traders, the more investigation I did myself about this topic. And the more I saw with my own eyes how Vlad and other traders were not only conducting risk-free trades, but generating consistent returns in excess in the range of 150% to 1050% a week. After seeing this happening week in and week out, I no longer had any doubts about the success of their system. I was convinced this was the way for me to break the poverty cycle I was stuck in. So I contacted professional colleagues of mine from Harvard, Yale, and MIT and told them about my experience. But this time, I told them to look at the various U.S. cryptocurrency exchanges, looking for specific trading patterns that were similar to ones I saw in the Russian market. Although I knew what I saw worked in Russia, I wanted to confirm that the same principles applied in the American market and beyond. And sure enough, over the course of the next few weeks and months, with the assistance of the Russian trader Vlad, we were able to map out our findings by tracing clues left behind, hidden amongst millions of transactions, financial records, chart patterns, and trades. Eventually, we recreated a trading and investing system that perfectly simulated abnormal trading patterns we identified from carefully running a historical regression analysis scrutinizing the data. This was painstaking work, as it spanned across different time zones, cryptocurrencies, and exchanges. After months of trial and error, we eventually were able to successfully emulate and replicate the process by which the 1% of the smart money were able to conduct risk-free arbitrage trades and end up having the rest of the less sophisticated participants, the 99%, make them profits during this process. And the best thing